Now, the one thing that I've been meaning to really bring up is that we all know that Bob Iger and his contract got extended until 2026, but we all need to remember that back on June 28th of 2022, Bob Chapek's contract was announced to be extended for 3 whole years. Where is he now? You know, I talked about this on Twitter, and this was all to be expected, by the way, but that does not necessarily mean that he can't get fired or let go from Disney based on ongoing failures throughout the rest of this year, leading into 2024. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into what's going on with Bob Iger. Now, just as Bob Iger extended his contract until 26, he's really been talking a lot more about the situation over at Disney, the problems that they are facing, and publicly admitting defeat on specific levels over there at Disney when it comes to their streaming models, their films, their parks, everything. You know, we know that Disney has been going through a very rough patch from recently because of what happened with Elemental, the lower expectations for The Little Mermaid, as well as what happened with Indiana Jones 5 and Galactic Star Cruiser Experience getting closed by this September. There's a lot of things to mention here of what's going wrong with Disney. I mean, let alone the ongoing price hikes, which is not helping. But moving toward the next big thing here about Bob Iger is that we know that the board is very incompetent of allowing Bob Iger to stay on board, but they are waiting to see what happens with the Haunted Mansion and the Marvels, as well as the movie Wish, to see whether or not they want to really let him go by early 24. Moving on. Now, when, of course, this all happens, with Bob Iger and Disney CEO recently actually extending his contract until 26, Iger recently delivered the following in which he admits Disney is in deep trouble. Iger delivered the following to the general public. Well, we do have this cost containment plan, and it's all about cutting back on our funds on various projects, that we are creating content for things like Marvel, Star Wars, and more, as well as our Disney films, that so many have loved over the years, and even many aspects of our streaming market, that we want to fine-tune and make some adjustments. You have to call it like it is. Right now, it's about spending less and making less, and that is only going to be more prominent throughout the rest of this year as we lead into 2024. We have thoroughly examined the Marvel content we have been putting out, and we know immediately that we had to cut back on those films and shows, not just from a business model perspective, but also from a creative standpoint. I think Marvel, we need to take things more sparingly, you know? Focus on less and make better quality products for our audience. The same can go with Star Wars. Our other models related to TV, like ABC, also need some fine-tuning and adjustments in response to our cutbacks and obstacles that we have been examining very thoroughly the past few months. Now, guys, let me just stop here quick about what Iger's saying, is that he is literally admitting what we've all been talking about, for months now, about what's coming for Disney, is that you can't just stay silent about failure after failure after failure and how it doesn't have an impact, because it does. And you know what? Iger does bring that up. You gotta call it like it is, he says. And this whole cost containment plan is all about spending less and making less to kind of even out. At the end of the day, Disney's making less money regardless, and they're flatlining. And yeah, they're still relying on the parks, they're still relying on the movies and the merchandise, stuff like that, but once the merchandise goes downhill, once the park attendees go downhill, that's when you really begin to have a serious problem. And we know that this is only the beginning of where Disney is heading. He has alluded to the fact that maybe they would be selling ABC, you know, a couple of weeks ago. They've touched on that a little bit, so that's a big telltale sign that their TV, you know, market, their TV model, you know, is really not performing all as much as expected. So Bob Iger and the board, I think that they're all very much incompetent. I mean, when you're looking at things like Star Wars specifically, it's not just Kathleen Kennedy to blame. I think that you really have to get down to the root of the problem, right? Much like a weed, right? You have to get down to the root of the issue, and you have to get the board, you know, pretty much altered and out of there. You know, but what's unfortunate is that you have shareholders that are really kind of also, you know, allowing, you know, what's going on with the board and how they too are allowing what Bob Iger is willing to do with Kathleen Kennedy. Now, I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe needed cutbacks anyway. I mean, they've been really kind of making a lot of misses lately, especially with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania being a flop, you know, doing very poorly at the box office, I must add. That was just another big telltale sign that Marvel is even failing. I know a lot of you guys out there that saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 had, you know, a little bit of a dull experience, but it was still kind of fun, I guess. But so a lot of fans weren't really all that thrilled as they expected to be. So moving on toward the next thing here is that he goes on to elaborate further. The same can go with Star Wars, he says. Our other models related to TV, like ABC, do need some fine-tuning and more. Do I think Marvel and Star Wars are going anywhere? Absolutely not, but we need to rethink our strategy based on the feedback we have been getting. Even for ESPN, we don't intend to sell that, but we are looking at other avenues to improve that experience and that option for our viewers. We have some crucial announcements coming this fall that I think the world is going to appreciate as we push our cost containment plan and focus on less and receiving less. You are always going to have your low points, but what we have noticed here needs immediate attention for an adjustment in our analysis on all our models. Now, again, Bob Iger is, at the end of the day, you know, somebody that really wants to keep his legacy intact. You know, this is somebody that, by the way, we've talked about this, wants to go against Tom Cruise, Paramount, as well as Skydance to really kind of create a equivalent version of the Mission Impossible franchise with Disney's upcoming spy film series that they plan on announcing next year in 2024 during one of their earnings calls. Alright, we talked about this. We'll talk about that further once the new year kicks in. So, obviously, they're not going to match up with MI. I highly doubt they could ever compete against Mission Impossible, but there you have it on that front. Now, the thing about Bob Iger is that we know that Bob Chapek somewhere has a big smile on his face right now. I mean, this guy is almost like, wow, that was a blessing in disguise that I got fired and replaced there. He most likely is very happy that he's not taking the big fall right now of what Bob Iger is going through. Now, we know that the parks are getting out of hand. I know a lot of you guys have come forward to me saying how, you know, these parks are no longer focused on family. Essentially, they don't really take that into account that people have large families, you know, 4 children, 6 children, even some. And to go to a park like Disney is extremely expensive, especially if you have a large family. The fact that they keep doing these rate hikes and they don't want to do rate deductions, it just makes no sense. I mean, Disney has apparently all the money in the world. Why not attract your audience or your attendees by lowering rates a little bit, and in conjunction with that, lowering your spending on, you know, the funds of said entertainment to kind of flatline out or to even out. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.